In this video, after last time out where we brought home a podium the hard way thanks to a very avoidable penalty early on, in this one we're going to try and bring home another podium but make it a bit simpler this time by racing smarter, reining it in a little. So let's see if we can bring home a second podium in a row here. Hey guys, Eerie is here and welcome along to another video. If this is your first time here and you like watching all sorts of sim racing related stuff, then click subscribe now and click the bell icon as well so you get notified of every video I upload and you don't miss a thing. You join me here in Quali where the load cells that I recently upgraded to are really starting to show their worth. By using pressure rather than travel, I now have the ability to have pinpoint precision to pick and adjust my braking pressure right throughout the braking process, allowing me to be as efficient into and out of the tricky turn 1 here as I can be. And this as a result would lead me to often putting in a purple sector throughout the first part of the lap, but unfortunately my time would then drop off slightly through the rest of the lap. But having a look here as I come out the final corner on my fastest lap of the session, I had to catch some oversteer there running me out onto the grass, which did affect my traction slightly, but nevertheless I managed to catch it and put in a 44.6, which was good enough for 6th place in this one, which I was happy with. And whilst it wasn't the front row, which we have been getting rather accustomed to of late, considering where our Haribo car is placed in the pack, it's car number 11 in this one, it is above where the game thinks we should be and is still a position from which I really think I can make something of and bring home a decent result here. But let's see, and let's get the race underway now. So getting the race underway here, we're going to make our way down the start finish straight towards the tricky turn number 1. Now the one thing you do not want to do here is blow your beans and get it wrong early doors, and that is exactly what the Italian up ahead there is going to do. He's just going to get on the loud pedal too early there and find himself in the inside of the barrier at turn number 1. Now he wasn't the only one, to be fair. The Merc in P2 did the same but just about save it, but I'm going to try and be extra careful and not make a big mistake like that in this one at all. Little mistakes are allowed, which is just as well as I make one here. I turned in a little late at turn number 4, which allows the Lexus alongside, but I'm not too worried there. I'm going to let him through. This is a marathon, not a sprint, since they changed the distance of the FIAs, and there is a long way to go in this one. And to be honest, I have actually started watching my races back and have been kicking myself on more than one occasion from pushing more hard than I needed to. Often ended up in me being put into a situation that ends any chance of a decent result. I'm thinking mainly of a couple of videos back, again here at Maggiore but the GP version, or the penalty I got last time out at Fuji. But either way, these mistakes have just pushed me further away from the larger goal that I have of being an A+ ranked driver. So I'm going to woosah here, just take what the race gives me in this one, especially on such a tight track with limited overtaking spots. One mistake could be disastrous and the difference between a good result or a bad one in this one. Fast forwarding slightly and rejoining the action on lap number 4, there is going to be a coming together up ahead between the pair fighting for second. The Merc is going to turn the Porsche round, not only putting him in the barrier but also giving him a penalty for his troubles. The Merc also got a penalty themselves, so it was a lose-lose for both parties there. But it wasn't for us. We won as we ended up gaining 2 places and are up to 4th now. So while I've got a moment, I should probably touch on strategy here. Now this race was an interesting one as there was many different aspects to consider. Fuel was a factor as there was not enough to get us through to the end, and we had to use both of the available tyre compounds, which were the mediums, which we are currently on, and the hards. But there was also traffic here as this layout of Maggiore is so short, plus this track is such a difficult track to pass on. Your race could be ruined if you don't think about it and end up coming out of the pits after making a pit stop in traffic. Here at the end of lap number 12 now, you'll see that both second and third are going to come into the pits there, but I'm going to stay out, and I do this for a couple of reasons. Reason number one is because I felt okay on the tyres at this point and wanted to stay off the harder compound for as long as possible, and number two, I wanted to put in a splash of fuel and come out just behind them but ahead of the main pack. I felt I had the pace and could overtake them in the pits if I could short fill at the second pit stop. So I come in for my first of 2 scheduled pit stops for some new boots and a little bit of fuel. A little bit of fuel, but not too much, because I don't want to jeopardise my chance of coming out in front of the mid pack. And as you can see as I look behind, it has worked out perfectly. I have come out in front of the guys behind and within touching distance of the 2 up in front. The guy who was in second took on fuel and now finds himself in the mid pack, so he's as good as out of the race. And the guy who is currently in second hasn't actually stopped yet, so I hope he will hold up Artem in front so we can sit in his slipstream and save some fuel. Crucially though, we also came out of the car behind Pat Clash, who coincidentally featured in the last video for those who can remember, and if you saw that one, you'll know how important it was to clear that guy, because he was a nightmare. But Artem has now been released, the guy who was in second has come in, and you can see now the guy who was in third, who took on extra fuel, has now been caught up in traffic and really has ruined his race. He's in 6th place now. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this could be a game wrecker if you don't think about it, and it has indeed, unfortunately, wrecked his race. But on the flip side, for once, everything for us is working out quite well. So I'm going to sit here, I'm going to save as much fuel as I can in the slipstream of Artem up in front by changing gear early and lifting just before the big braking zones. I'm not going to mess with the fuel map, as a lot of you know that my strategy with that is it just simply gives me too much to do around a tight track like this, and if I think about too much, I'm probably going to crash. So no messing around with fuel or anything, we're just going to change up early and we are going to lift off just before the braking zones, and we're going to do that with the intention of just sitting behind this guy here, saving as much fuel as possible and jumping him in the pits. So we've just been circulating, sitting in the slipstream of the car in front just as we wanted, and as we come to the end of lap number 24, it is time to pit and find out if I have done enough to jump him in the pits. Someone picked up my finger counting in the last video in the comments, and I am at it again to ensure I fuel up enough to the end of the race, and yes, we have done it. We've played the long game here. We saved as much fuel as possible by staying in the slipstream. This, combined with the splash of fuel that I took in on the first pit stop, remember, has brought us out in second, in front of the Lexus that overtook us all the way back on lap number 1. So now, all we need to do is keep our head, absorb the pressure, keep it clean, and see these final laps out here. And that is exactly what we did. You rejoin me here on the final lap of the race, and I am going to do it. By using my tactics and my brain rather than all out speed, I let the race come to me and am about to be rewarded for my efforts. I pull over to the right hand side here to bring home second place for our second podium finish in a row, and another of quite a few podiums I have had recently. I'm really happy again with that one. As we can see in the background, our second place is being confirmed there, and as I say, this is my second podium in a row, and as we move over to our driver rating graph, it has gone up to 41,818, which, looking at that graph there, has been the highest it's been for some time now. And on that positive note, I am going to end the video there, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks again so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.